Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pert.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things we're talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Poet. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. We'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. We'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause the times is demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand
First Contact Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio. Good morning, Earthlings. Welcome back to First Contact Radio. How you doing today? I'm doing well. Thanks for being here. Today we have a new moon and we have a new sun. It's a new beginning. Let's check out what we've got going on. 20th of January 2015. Sun sign is gone from Capricorn to Aquarius. Moon sign has gone from Capricorn to Aquarius. So today we have double Aquarius, both Aquarius Sun and Aquarius Moon. These transitions both occurred earlier this morning. The Sun going into Aquarius at 3:43 a.m. and just shy of 7 at 6:59 a.m. the Moon went into Aquarius. So Aquarius, even though we've got the squiggly lines there, and I know it looks just like the symbol of water, is actually a symbol representing air, and the movements is how energy moves through the air. So what we have here is an air sign for the conscious mind, an air sign for the unconscious mind. Air signs are all about words and actions, the things that we speak and do into the world. Remember, it's real simple. You got spirit, God, first and foremost, and then God expresses itself into this world as fire, water, and air. Fire, ideas; water, emotions; air, the actions or words. So you take an idea, you sprinkle it with emotions, you then express that into the world, and you create form, the physical thing you want to create. And that's how the whole process works over and over and over. So when you have people talking about using the mind, like Anthony Robbins talks about his type of work, same process. If you hear any of the motivational speakers, same process. You're taking an idea, you're adding some emotion to it, you're speaking it into the world, and you're believing in that idea. The whole idea that things aren't get answered or move along is because once we speak something into the world, we have doubts about it. And when we bring doubts into it, the universe gives us exactly what we ask for, so it throws doubts into the mix. So the whole idea of asking you shall receive is right on. It's accurate. We just have to make sure that once we ask in the time that it takes to receive, we don't throw any doubts into the mix to slow the process down. Okay, so that's what we're dealing with today. Two air signs. An air sign, and the moon sign is only here for 2.5 days. The sun sign is here now for a whole nother month. So all the way till mid-February, we're going to be dealing with Aquarius and the ideas of what Aquarius is all about. So just kind of, get used to that. Set your mind on that idea, because those are the energies. Aquarius is, we think about the age of Aquarius, the time when everything is going to be peaceful and harmonious. Well, that's kind of the ideas. It's also the future. So this is a time for us to envision the future, how we take actions over this time to how we're going to bring that future in. And because it's an air sign, there's movement. It's not like an earth sign that just stays still. Air moves around. So over the course of this next sun cycle that we're in here, there's going to be movement taking place out there. Our conscious minds are going to want to move. Our unconscious minds today starts off with a little push, wants to move as well. And we're going to go with this movement and this energy over the course of this next month. So let's look at some of the other aspects here today. Once we moved into those aspects, A little after 7, there was a conjunction here between the sun and the moon. A conjunction is when two signs are both in the similar area, right next to each other. Could be in the same house, or maybe right next to each other, maybe in opposite houses next to each other, but they're right next to each other. And I kind of think of it as, since they're both right there, they're kind of at a party, having a party together, figuring things out, talking, becoming acquainted, developing relationship. And that's really what all of this is about. It's a relationship. Planets and the stars have relationships with each other. We have relationships with the planets and stars. All the energy that is expressed through that is all part of relationship. So it's all really the same thing. Everyone's relating, everyone and everything is relating to everyone and everything else. And then later this morning at 11:16 a.m. we have a transit between the moon, Aquarius, and Saturn, discipline or focus, in which we now start to focus where we're going to go, what are we going to do. If we want to bring this future into reality, how are we going to do that? What are the steps? What actions are we going to take? One other thing to be aware of, we're just getting ready to move into a Mercury retrograde. That will happen tomorrow. Mercury retrograde is communication. And we all know now with Mercury retrograde, rule of thumb is you just kind of rework things you were doing. You use it as a time to look over, retro, go back, grade, go back a grade, step back, look at your work, look at what you have done. So you also use that as a time to, because we're looking at old stuff, we're not really jumping into something new. It's not really that time. So the next couple weeks, plan accordingly. Look at what your schedules are. Look at what your life is and what you're working on. What are the things that you are thinking of starting new over the next couple weeks? Maybe you might not want to start them then. Maybe you might want to polish up some old work that you've been doing. Double check what you have done thus far and prepare. Prepare so you're not starting something brand new. Start it today. Figure out just how to work with the planets and the stars. And when you start working with these rhythms, as we all find out, things in life become different. We start having a different relationship with life because we're working with the rhythms of life itself. Okay, so new beginning of the sun, new beginning of the moon, fresh start. Over here at the Jewish calendar, we see we're about on the fresh start as well, because today is the last day of this month, Tevet, and it's about to begin a new month, Shavat. Okay, so fresh starts there. A lot of new beginnings going on. Daily thought, we are the poor. We are the poor man in the Baal Shem Tov's tale. We are poor of vision because eyes are blind to wonder. We are poor of heart because we cannot delight in the ecstasy of that wonder. We are poor of soul because this materialistic world has stolen from us our sensitivity to that which cannot be seen or touched. And because we are the poor man, therefore we will not be satisfied with wonder, with ecstasy, or anything else spiritual, even the divine. Yes, we will only be satisfied when we have God alone. Until we can find nothing but Him in every corner of the world, until then, nothing will placate us. Space weather. Solar wind 288.9 kilometers per second. Planetary K index is quiet at a 1, 2. Coronal holes, we got a big one down here at the bottom. Something opening up here. Tells us that 23rd to 25th we're going to be hit from some wind coming from these coronal holes. M-class flare possibilities at 5, X-class at 1. Geomagnetic storm activity. Mid-latitudes as high as 20% down to 1%. And the high latitudes as high as 25% with a low of 15. And if you look up at the sky tonight, what you will see is Gemini shining high in the east. Off to the left is Orion. Off to the left of Orion, excuse me. So you're going to see Gemini. Look to the left, you see Orion. In Gemini center lies R Gemonium, a red long period variable star sporting the rare elements zirconium and technetium. Our gem is brightening towards February's maximum. As of February 14th, it was already a magnitude 7.0 ahead of schedule. Okay, new moon, and this is a chart that we'll start to see tomorrow. We can kind of get an idea of where we're at. So the moon would be down here. Okay. And that is cosmic weather. What's getting us started for today. UFO news is up next. Let's get to it.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk. Thank you very much. First sighting takes us over to Massachusetts. Now, this one is one that we looked at, but this one has a bit more research has gone into it. UFO sighting over Massachusetts spells out Morse code. Let's explore why I say this looks real. First, fake video is hard to make frame by frame and are usually 10 to 15 seconds long in HD. The video is not HD quality, nor is it short, being 1 minute 45 seconds. 2, you hear some people talking excitedly about them, and even hear one woman saying OMG, OMG, oh my God, several times because she was overly excited about it. Actors usually won't say the same thing over and over. Instead, actors will change words. Third, back in 1989 and 90, when I was in the Strategic Air Command USAF base, high security due to having hundreds of nuclear missiles and dozens of B-1 bombers, I saw over 25 UFO orbs just like this glowing giant orb. So I know they exist because me and thousands of others saw these UFOs during a clear afternoon in Rapid City, South Dakota. 4, we recently saw a similar UFO over Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem, the most sacred place in the country, on January 28, 2011, which was witnessed by thousands, recorded by dozens of tourists from different locations. So what I am saying here is that this has all the indications of being real, not a drone, not the USAF, not the TR-3Bs, but real alien ships. Also note that it seems that they spell out Morse code, however unlikely it may be. The big ship being a dash, the small being dots. This is what I got, but I'm not fluent in Morse code, so you may have a better solution. The first is the word end. After that, it doesn't make sense. I will tell you this, starting out a message with the word end does not sound good news. If you know what the message is, please tell us in the comments below. Okay, so we look at this, we could see what's playing out here. This is the one that drops the objects down. Okay. So here's what he's seeing from this Morse code, END. I'm not sure where the Morse code is being seen, but END, RF, EL, 5 ESN, IE. Alright, very interesting indeed. This is something for further study, but it is interesting how they did line up, and it is a direction that we might want to look for some of our study. Alright, let's move on from here. This next one takes us to New Mexico. It's a object. 3 anomalous lights appeared over Santa Ana Pueblo, and a New Mexico witness photographed them as they were in triangular formation, according to the MUFON case 62729. The witness stayed at the Hyatt Regency in Santa Ana Pueblo, New Mexico, for a business matter when the incident took place at 7:05 p.m., January 15th. According to the testimony of the witness, he used an iPhone 4S to take several pictures of the sky around the hotel. Though he did not see something strange while taking the photos, he was amazed to see the lights when he checked the photos he had taken. Filed on the 19th of January, the report includes an image of mysterious lights right here. The witness claims he has an aviation background as a licensed pilot with instrument ratings and an ex-amateur astronomer, so he is accustomed to watching the stars and noticing details. says he did not see the lights with his naked eye. All right, and this is common. People have this happen to them all the time when they're taking photographs of such things. Here's the Apollo mission, Apollo 7 mission. Look what we've got there. Very interesting looking craft. You can see the bottom part of it. These are the wing areas or living quarters. It's quite large. I was searching through Apollo 7 images and found this large metallic UFO in one of them. It is high up in Earth's orbit, and the Apollo module must have flown right past it. They must have blown them away. Apollo 7 had a 3-man crew lasting 10 days in orbit. The mission is also famous for being the first live broadcast from an American spacecraft. However, they didn't obviously broadcast this. Aliens view human history being made from the detail of the craft. They are very close, less than 100 meters away. If you want more proof about this photo, just look at the other photo after it. Covered in duct tape to hide the UFO. Okay. There's the duct tape right there covering up the UFO. Don't want people to see it. People are too sensitive, can't see these things, people might not understand, right, NASA? So you're protecting us. That's good. Dark UFO, 2 times Earth-size exits the sun. This was 2 days ago on the 18th. A very dark UFO showed up on the Helio viewer this week. The darkness of this massive UFO should be impossible. Anything that close to the sun should be glowing with heat, but not like this. It is also near a solar explosion, which may have caused upon exiting the sun. The UFO is 2 times the size of Earth, according to the photo of Earth on the Helio viewer to compare. Harnessing the power of the sun for their own use, it is a type of 2 or 3 civilization. Okay, interesting. So, if an object larger than the Earth flies like this particular one, where it at some point is between the Earth and the sun, guess what doesn't happen? Yeah, we don't have polar shifts, we don't have all that stuff happening. So when there's talk about a planet flying through, isn't necessarily going to be something that's going to cause all sorts of damage if it's a planet this size, because wouldn't this be causing damage, especially when it's flying around and moving faster than a planet would fly around or move? Just some food for thought. Here we have a sighting up by the ISS, and NASA cuts the live feed. So NASA did it again. A UFO shows up on the live public internet cam, and NASA takes it offline. Who here is surprised by this? If you are new to here, UFOs are caught by researchers on a weekly basis, and NASA does cut the line when they catch them. However, the eggheads at NASA are not always focused on the screen and miss a lot of interesting and sometimes very highly detailed UFOs. Street Cap 1 is the UFO researcher who has caught the most and might, I add, have the highest detail of UFO docking with the ISS. Do you remember that one? Please bear in mind that the moon appears white while it shows. There is no point in me uploading a video of the moon. I do, however, have a video of the moon which I can upload later for comparison. Okay, so 1 minute 18-second video. And there's the temporary glitch. They have a temporary glitch with the space station. Temporary glitch isn't like a UFO was seen. Okay. So let's go back over here to the beginning. There's our object right here. And up, black screen. Look at that, look at that. Okay, we're going to move on, because if NASA doesn't want us to look at it, maybe we should just move on then. Series of UFO sightings over nuclear plants in France and Belgium. This is just an artistic interpretation. The vast amount of reported UFOs over nuclear power plants since October 2014 sparked a high-level status issued by the French government. The latest of the UFOs happened just last week, and the most recent one in Belgium was reported in December. Majority of media outlets made drones as the suspect, but not all witnesses are convinced. With the explanation, authorities can't identify the UFO, and if they are drones, they don't know who controlled them. Australian news site ORF.AT reports the UFOs were observed flying above nuclear power plants in France on 18 separate occasions between October and November. The site adds that authorities suspect an unknown group has been coordinating to create the UFO sightings. ORF.AT also says the series of sightings have set off a debate over the safety of nuclear power plant facility. French government has received denunciation from Greenpeace for alleged downplaying the danger of these unknown flights over the nuclear power stations. All right, let's move on from here. Here we have a UFO, a jagged UFO at that, spotted hovering over New York, and it terrifies the birds and the wildlife. The cameraman claims the object was making a strange sound as it hovered in the air for 3 minutes before disappearing. A mysterious jagged-shaped, unidentified flying object has been claimed to have been spotted in the sky above New York. Uploaded to YouTube on January 15th, the footage was just 14 seconds before the YouTube user claims that his phone was shut down due to an unexplained overheating issue. He also suggests the wildlife in the area were too scared by the object, which was making a mysterious noise. YouTube user Von Edgar Land, who uploaded the video to the site, wrote, "Does anyone know what this is? Kind of looks like something out of, what was the movie, District 9? Oh, let's get another look at that there. Just going to freeze the picture. So it happened in New York in the afternoon, 1/14/2015. Interesting indeed. And one more. This one here is Hatch, New Mexico. Witness said, "I was driving south past Hatch, New Mexico, and I saw the black object in the daytime sky. I continued to monitor it as we drove and eventually took the I-10 westbound. When the entire time I was going through what could possibly be. Would a helicopter hover hundreds of feet in the air for approximately an hour? Well, I don't know much about helicopters, so I don't know. Could it be a weather balloon? Maybe, but it seemed extremely large and completely black. So I'm curious about what it could be, and I felt a frustration in not being able to identify it. We stopped to get gasoline at a driving station at the I-10 for about 15 minutes. We came out, it was gone. There's the object. What could it be? What could it be? What could it be? Well, who knows? It's from another world. Anyway, UFO news, that is it for today. I'll be right back. We're going to continue on.
Come into our circle, Great Spirit. Fill our souls with peace.
Great Spirit, send down your love, send down your love.
Shall we continue? Let's. So last week, the book of Revelation. The week before that, the book of Daniel. The reason being, we're living in times that I believe are the end times described in these books. Not the end of the world, but the end times, the end of the time frame that we're in. So we read the book of Daniel because the book of Daniel has references and clues that when we read the book of Revelation we would find, and we certainly did, so we understand a little bit more about what's going on. What I have here is a little bit of a summary. We're not going to get too detailed into this because we're going to continue on from here, but I found this page here. It's over at BibleHub.com. I thought this was as good a place as any to go. And here's a bit of a summary. It said the literary genres of the book of Revelation are an apocalypse, a prophecy, and an epistle, or letter. The disciple or apostle, John, who followed Jesus Christ and witnessed his crucifixion, authored it. John wrote Revelation while a prisoner on the island of Patmos, approximately 85 to 95 AD. Its purpose is to give encouragement and hope for all Christians to continue watching for the return and the triumph of the Lord Jesus Christ. It is also to warn of the final judgment that non-believers will endure on the last day. John wrote that Revelation is special because blessed is he who reads and those who hear the words of the prophecy and heed the things which are written in it, for the time is near. In chapters 1 through 3, John describes the details of the setting as he received the revelation. Revelation means unveiling of the truth, to reveal. John was elderly and imprisoned on the island of Patmos when he received an apocalyptic vision from an angel. With this angel, he was instructed to write to 7 churches about what he had seen. Revelation 1 through 19 describes a basic outline of his entire letter written by John. Therefore write the things which you have seen, and the things which are, and the things which are to take place after these things. This is the pattern that is followed by John. He describes of the seven churches, their qualities and their weaknesses and their failings. Then we have chapters 4 through 20. Jesus depicts what he sees in a vision about the spiritual realm. He describes Jesus Christ. John depicts, Jesus Christ as the slain lamb who is the only one able to open the book with 7 seals. Aside from the 5th seal, he will bring a judgment upon the populace of the earth. The 7th seal introduces 7 angels, who each possess 7 trumpets, another series of daunting judgments. Incredibly, after that, the 6th trumpet, in which 1/3 of the earth's population is killed, John claims the rest of mankind were not killed by these plagues, did not repent. After this, John receives visions of which would include the Antichrist and Satan, who is aware of this looming end. Next, John describes 7 more angels that will each carry 7 bowls of plagues to be poured onto the earth. Again, amazingly, when hail is raining from heaven during the 7th plague, humankind does not repent, but instead men blaspheme God because of the plague of the hail, because its plague was extremely severe. These fierce plagues demonstrate the wrath of God's holy judgment upon the still wicked earth. John describes the eternity of hell, the final resting place of the unbelieving. In chapters 19, verse 20, the Antichrist and the false prophet are cast into the lake of fire. 1,000 years later, after the millennium reign of Jesus Christ in 2010, the devil is also cast into the lake of fire. We also see that the Antichrist and the false prophet are still in torment day and night forever and ever, because John describes hell as an eternal place of the conscious torment. Finally, in chapters 21 and 22, John writes that the last of the canon of scriptures. Here he describes the new heaven and the new earth. It is the holy city of the new Jerusalem. There will no longer be any crying, tears, pain, mourning, or death, because the first things have passed away. Only those that are written in the Lamb's book of life can enter this place to live eternally with Jesus Christ, who sits on his throne. Come, let the one who is thirsty come, let the one he wishes to take the water of life without cost. Behold, I am coming quickly. My reward is with me, to render to every man according to what he has done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end. Well, in reading through this and going through the book, there are times where it is quite daunting on what's going on. But we have to look at this in a number of different ways. First thing to understand when reading any of the biblical passages is to find out what is the spirit of the language that they are speaking. You know, every generation has a new set of words, a new vocabulary that they use. And so understanding how they are using their words in their speech patterns, basically it all boils down to the same thing. We live in a world of energy. Energy is operating according to basic laws of the universe. Laws that is a word that is used, basically it says this is how the machinery of the universe works. When we work in accordance with the way the machinery of the universe works, guess what? Everything works out great. But when we go in opposition to the way the machine is working, things don't work out as well. And we will have challenges along the way. Why? Because we're not working the way the machinery is supposed to work. Think about a recipe. There's a particular recipe that we follow to make everything work. If we don't follow the recipe, certainly we get some sort of result, but we don't get the result that we would get if we were to follow exactly the recipe as it was. So these are all just different ways in which to describe what is going on. The book of Revelation describes a vision, first of all, that is had. Visions can be very symbolic. There's a lot of symbology that takes place throughout it. You should be familiar enough by now with some of the symbology of the tarot and astrology and numerology to know that during the reading of the book of Revelation, there was a lot of this type of symbology telling us there was a deeper meaning behind what was being told. We see the number 7 and 7 over again, so we know that has some significance. And we see what's taking place in the world today, and we see what appears to be a story that is unfolding, leading to a great battle. What we have here is a continual battle that's taking place, a continual warring that's taking place, where humankind is just getting out of control. And if humankind doesn't find a way to stop that, bad things are going to happen. As we read through the different plagues that are brought upon humanity, sounds very much like some of the engineering that's being done with DNA, or the way in which diseases are created. We know our governments are creating these diseases. Are there influences from some other dark entities or authorities that are out there? And that is connecting, the connecting dot between all of these? Quite possibly. However, the whole chapter is just a message to what we have to do to change, and if we're not willing to change, how we're going to miss the mark. And the reason I use miss the mark is because, as opposed to the word sin, is because that's really all that sin is. It's just missing the mark. You see, I've been doing a lot of research. Kind of the path has taken me into some deeper aspects of all of this study, and the Bible itself has some good information in it. But what I've come to understand is the Bible, like other books, has been very edited. And it's been very edited because of fear. You see, it used to be known and understood that God was both male and female, and that in order to move through life effectively, in order to understand God, how God works in our lives, we need to understand the male and the female aspects of God. But as time moved along, that became a point of fear for the men, because men felt threatened. Men felt threatened because women can bring life into the world, a man can't. So as societies were moving along and there was a continual worship of both the male and the female aspects of God, men who wanted to control things started finding that if they could re-edit these works, these books, that people were going to follow these laws, they could change what people are thinking, how they're going to behave. So we have the first 5 books of the Bible make up the Torah. These are the books that are books considered Jewish law. However, none of these books were written during the time when these events occurred. As a matter of fact, these books were written hundreds of years later, 500 to 900 years later. Imagine if you sat down and you were going to write a story about something that happened 500 years ago, 700 years ago. Do you think you're going to get it exactly right? No. Would it matter? No. Because if your idea was to impose a certain idea on a person, it's very easy to do. So what happened is, as we look at the Old Testament, we see that the female aspect of God is pretty much removed. You can go through and you can find bits and pieces in there, pretty much removed though. And instead of having a all-parent, a divine mother and father who gives birth to the divine children, the son and the daughter, we have an angry male God who wants to fight wars. And that angry male God is what we see over and over. And as we really look close and read in a number of the passages, not only do we find an angry male God, but we find that the men at that time, and some of those who are writing the passages, are very hateful of women and speak of women in a very, very divisive way, as if they are evil, vile creatures. And all of this is based on the fear. So all of the years go by, and here we have a book, the Old Testament, which is written based on fear, edited by the male priests who wanted to see to it that the feminine was squashed out. And so instead of having the matriarchy, or a society that is both understanding the male and female aspects of God, we have this patriarchy. And that is what the Bible has become. Now, it didn't change once we got to the New Testament, because there were still those who were writing the passages and the stories years after the fact. However, what we're going to turn our attention to in our further study from today is to looking at some information that has come to light to show how things were distorted in the Old Testament, how things were distorted in the New Testament as well. Because what you'll find as we go through this next course of study, which is going to take some time to go through it, you're going to find that what Jesus spoke about was much more than the New Testament gives credit for. You will find that when Jesus talks about God, Jesus talks about the mother and the father God, the all-parent. You'll find that Jesus had a different respect for life in the way that women were looked at. Jesus spoke about reincarnation and karma. All of these things frightened the men because they didn't know, again, how to control this power. So we have a book, the New Testament, 27 books, 13 of them are written by Paul. Paul was a very misogynistic person. You can read through passages where he just describes women as being horrible creatures. Paul never knew Jesus. Didn't know. Just had this vision that he had, and based on all of that, he said everything got turned around, but we could see it's still very much male-oriented. So, and to truly understand what's going on with this book, what's going on with the study of life, we need to take the Bible and set the Bible aside, because we need to understand that the Bible is no longer a valid source once men started tinkering with it. So we need to go find out where we can find sources of information, where we could find those who perhaps recorded some of these biblical events and spoke about them in other ways, where we could find hidden texts. And that's exactly what is out there. Just case in point, there's the story of Moses that we know is different from the story that really occurred, because there isn't anything in the historical record about Moses going out and doing what he said he did, about this whole Exodus. But there is a story that comes out of Egypt that matches exactly with the whole story. And this story is not the same type of story that we hear in the Bible, because it's a story of a man who's who's living in Egypt at the time, a priest in the temple of Heliopolis. And this man has leper. And there's a number of people in Egypt at that time that were sick and had leprosy. And the king wanted to purify his land. He wanted to be able to see God directly, face to face. So his oracle told him that if he banished all of these people that were sick, it would make a difference and he would have his opportunity. But if he banished them, the opportunity for them to come back and take over Egypt would be great. So instead of banishing them out of the land, he just sent them west of the Nile. All of the sick, all of those with leprosy. He cleansed the kingdom by putting them west of the Nile and putting them to work in the quarries. One of these, the high priest, or one of the priests of the temple of Heliopolis, his name was Osarf. And he was the one that those gathered around once they were put over into this new land, living in this city that had been abandoned called Avaris. They gathered around Osarf and they made him their leader and said, we've got to do something about this. What do we do? So Osarf decided that they were going to take back Egypt. And Osarf changed his name. And he changed his name to Moses. And so he gathered all of these together. And they went and they attacked Egypt. And not only did they attack to take it back, but they killed innocent women and children. They went into the temples. They defiled all of the temples that were there, performing sacrilege. They were very cruel, evil-minded, and very destructive warriors. And they maintained control there in Egypt for 13 years, as the oracle had said. But then King Amenephis returned with a bigger army, and they ended up kicking them out. At which point, they ended up going from there and in the desert for 40 years. 40 years in the desert, wandering around until they finally settled in Jerusalem. Now, these people, and they were referred to as a name. The name that they were called in Egypt were the Habaru, very close to Hebrew. So we have this story of Moses, which isn't quite the same. And this was written down by someone who was one of the scribes there in Egypt. His name was Manetho. This is much different than the writings that came many, many hundreds of years later, which do not tell us the real story. Because there are records of these events taking place in Egypt that I just described. And there are records of them leaving Egypt, but not in the way that we are told in the Bible. And in going out, you had this band of warriors, this wild fighting bunch that were just moving around that needed to be tamed. And so this 40 years in the desert seemed to be a time of taming them, calming them down, removing that wild killer nature from them because there was something amiss. And yet we have the 5 books of the Bible, the Torah, which are supposedly based on Noah's or Moses and all of his works, but they weren't written by anybody that knew Moses. They were written hundreds of years later. They weren't written by Moses. And yet this is the law that has been followed. And it's unfortunate that there is such editing to this work, because what is being followed that was accurate and what isn't? And that's part of the problem. So there's many, and I'll pull the links up once we get to tomorrow. I'll pull some links up so you can read that story and see that. But you'll find that there's many stories throughout the Bible that are that way. And once you start understanding what's really going on, the real truths, you start to see a lot of through lines that affect us this day. When we start looking at the laws as being like a recipe and knowing that if we don't have all the right ingredients in it, it's not going to work properly, kind of gives a different way to look at the law. Right here, this is what we're going to end up jumping into. I'll give you a little sneak peek, because this is the Gnostic Society Library, and this is all about the Nag Hammadi Library. The Nag Hammadi is a collection of 13 ancient codices containing over 50 texts that was discovered in Upper Egypt in 1945. This immensely important discovery includes a large number of primary Gnostic Gospels, texts once thought to have been entirely destroyed during the early Christian struggle to divine orthodoxy. Scriptures such as the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Philip, the Gospel of Truth. The discovery and the translation of the Nag Hammadi Library was completed in 1970, has provided impetus to a major reevaluation of early Christian history and the nature of Gnosticism. Readers unfamiliar with the history may wish to read an excerpt from Elaine Pagel's excellent popular introduction to the Nag Hammadi texts. And in there was found the Gospel of Thomas, the Secret Book of John. We have writings in this book that are directly attributed to Jesus. And there's a very much a difference in the language that is spoken by Jesus and those close to him than in the Bible. So we're going to delve into this, and we're going to delve into this full tilt, because this is very important. And when we truly understand and see what was edited from the Bible and how it was changed to give a different meaning, or when we start to assign the original meanings and really see, it'll open your eyes in another way to understand a bit more about where we're going, why we're going, how we got here, and so on. So there's a little sneak peek, and throughout the course of it, we'll get back into Revelation and some of the others, because we're not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just because there were some things that were edited down and changed in the Old Testament and the New Testament doesn't mean that there's stuff there of value, because there certainly is. It just means that we have to be a bit more diligent in our practice to decode what was changed, to find out what the differences are and put the pieces together, like putting a big puzzle together. But that's the objective, and that's the direction that we are going to be heading. Okay? So there you go. Let's move on. Here's an article at In5D. It's called 7 Secrets to Knowing Your Higher Self. We certainly have talked about the higher self and the need to connect with it. It says each is connected with the divine. The higher self within us far transcends the understanding of our conscious minds. This is the power that all the great geniuses and teachers of history have accessed. It is also a place of magic and miracle in our lives. Here are 7 key steps to contact it. 1 is to believe and expect. I'm just going to read over each one. Believing and expecting is important. You know, it goes along with the laws of the universe. When you say you want something from the universe, when you state that, the next step is to expect that you're going to receive it. Because anything other than that is a doubt. You've just asked for something and now doubted you're going to get it. And of course, the universe is going to give back to you the doubt, because the universe will always give you what you ask for. Ask and ye shall receive. So ask for something and expect to receive it. Same principles that have been in effect for thousands of years are still in effect now. So when you have a teacher of positive thinking tell you to ask for something and then act as if you already have it, same principle, just put in this modern day language that we all understand. To have solitude and meditation is great, because we need to have time to connect in with ourselves. And we have so much around us all day that is loud, that when we have time to have the solitude, it really makes a difference in our lives. Writing down things in a journal is very important. It helps us to record what we're feeling, our emotions, our dreams. Inner dialogue. As we connect more with our higher self, we start to have this dialogue with this friend that's there, always there for us, to help us. Life lessons. Says if we look upon life as a mystery school, believe that the whole of your life events and situations has been structured precisely in order to teach you what you need, then you approach life in a different way. So one way is to look at life for the lessons we're receiving. Our dreams are very important, because they help us to connect into what's going on under the surface. And last is mindfulness. Focus upon living in a more present way in the now. Last passage here says, remember that you have spent your entire life out of touch with Source. Therefore, it takes time to learn how to reestablish contact. Anything worth doing takes time and practice. Be vigilant and practice these 7 steps every day, and you will receive the answers you need. Remember, the higher self wants to be in contact. In fact, it even speaks of it as someone apart. To even speak of it as someone apart from you is contradictory. The higher self is you, the real you. So, question is, if we've had all of this information from books like the Bible for all of these years, outlaying these ways that we should connect, why haven't we connected by now? Answer is simple. Because the way that we truly need to connect has been disconnected from the book itself. So how are we supposed to read the book and then truly be able to connect when the books that we read have been disconnected? And therein lies the problem. Once we connect things back together properly, then we start to connect in our lives what needs to be corrected in our lives. And it's that simple. But in order to get from here to there, it takes a great amount of strength. It's going to take a great amount of strength for those of the Jewish community who have been reading the Torah and have followed every single word in it exactly as is written. It's going to take great strength for them to step and look at it from another perspective and understand that there are some truths that were passed along in the way. That the male priests came along and they re-edited things to take out the divine feminine. It's going to take great strength for those in the Christian community to step back from the New Testament and look at some of these other works and see a deeper aspect of what Jesus was all about, to really understand who he was and what his words are about, because there's great meaning, much more meaning than you get in the Old Testament. As a matter of fact, what you're going to find as we're going through a lot of these works and a lot of these books and writings, you'll find that whereas the New Testament may tell a story and you get 25% of that story, in these apocryphal books, you'll get 100% of the story. That's a big difference, and you start to look at them and say, oh, now that makes sense, what was being said. Now I understand how to apply that into my life, because you're not missing a piece of the puzzle, or different ideas from different sections were pieced together to form another idea of something that wasn't said at all. So, all connected in, all of us moving forward, and that's what this is all about. All right, let's jump over to our channeled message for today. Here we go.
The Elohim, the Sacred Flames of Creation, Part 1.
January 18th, 2015. By Carla Thompson.
We are now at the moment in time where the sacred flames of creation are being brought to our attention. What are the sacred flames of creation? They are the colored light rays that are flooding our existence daily, and while they seem to be new, they have actually always been here, coming to us since the beginning of time, from the source of all that is. Our awareness of these energies is the first step in recognizing how creation may occur, but of course this means that we must not only be aware of their existence, but it behooves us now to be open to and accepting of their role in our very own creations.
The Elohim recently said this.
The great rays of the ages, of the creation, are flooding Gaia from the source of all that is. They are not in any way new to this expression, perhaps only new to you, through your newly raised awareness. As you, the masters of this creation, move forward along your paths of evolution, notice that the wisdom of the rays is imparted, one ray at a time. It is with great love that we see humanity opening its heart to these divine rays of God's source, for it is remembered, and honored, that these sacred teachings from the source unfold as light transmissions. The transmissions have come to you in an apparent haphazard fashion, but it is the case that everything comes in perfect order as all is interlinked in perfect harmony, like a beautiful symphonic piece that has each instrument and each voice as separate expressions. Then when woven together in perfect harmony they create the masterpiece called the symphony, created from trillions of tonal events, tonal frequencies, which when brought together make a statement of love, of reflection, not only on the individual elements but on those creating the whole, in unison. Your experience has afforded you great knowledge of many flames, many more than the 7 flames to which you now apply your attention. Notice that the teachings began initially with the platinum ray and have continued through the various colors of gold, white, violet, royal blue, yellow, violet gold, rose pink, and to the recent experience with the emerald green ray. Why all these rays? What is their role? Each ray, each component, together, completes the juggernaut, the puzzle of life, the puzzle called your reality. Through the use of these rays you move into your expanded roles as creators, as you hold the focus upon these flames, each in correlation to the energetic center that holds each light frequency. And when you look at these flames in the same light, they each represent one side, one aspect of the fuller awareness that one must hold in order to create the stunning tapestry. It takes many rays to make a rainbow. These rays are energies of great power, of full consciousness and of the perfection of all that is, and as awakened humans and creator gods, you are able to draw in the energy, the frequencies, as colors. Your human vessels are able to actively see colors with the physical eyes, perceive colors with the third eye, imagine color with the mind, and feel color with your heart. It is through the engagement of all levels of your beautiful electromagnetic vessels that you are able to create instantly upon the multidimensional landscape. The Agarthans have also come forward to stress the importance and necessity of using these flames within the context of our roles as light warriors, but not from the perspective of creation as the Elohim emphasize, but from the simple standpoint that the use of these flames is the foundation to our ascension.
Anamar of Delos stated recently,
the sacred flames are the keys to your success as masters of light. With these flames you shall cleanse and purify your body, your mind, and your spirit system, and once complete, your manifestation through the use of these flames shall leap 1,000,000-fold into a most beautiful creation of perfectly ordered moments. There is one more thing: mastery of the 7 sacred flames is the foundation to your ascension. Each flame represents one area of purification not only at the soul level but also and most importantly at the ego-mind level. As each flame's lesson is perfected and internalized, one moves quickly up the scale of mastery in preparation for the ascension. Whether we are focused on creation, ascension, or perhaps both, the time has come to make the leap in consciousness to acknowledge these beautiful living light energies, knowing they carry their own signature, and have their own realm of influence and purpose for being. We must know that they were created for the purpose of creation, just as we were.
Okay, good message. Ties into others that we've been getting. Let's see, this is the message today over at the Warrior of the Light. A warrior of the light knows his own faults, but he also knows his qualities. Some of his companions complain all the time that other people have more opportunities than we do. Perhaps they are right, but a warrior does not allow himself to be paralyzed by this. He tries to make the most of his virtues. He knows that the gazelle's power lies in its strong legs. The power of the seagull lies in the accuracy with which it can spear a fish. He has learned that the reason the tiger does not fear the hyena is because he is aware of his own strength. He tries to establish what he can truly rely on, and he always checks that he carries 3 things with him: faith, hope, love. If these 3 things are there, then he does not hesitate to go forward. So that being said, let us go with faith, hope, and love forward into our meditation for today. So close your eyes, take a deep breath, and exhale. Take another deep breath, and exhale again. Now continue to breathe in and out. Feel the rhythm of life coursing through your body. The same rhythm of life that's coursing through the universe. Feel the change that we have upon us now down here on earth at this moment, as we move into a new sun cycle, a new moon cycle. Take a moment to contemplate the aspect of God, the divine nature of God, both male and female, mother and father. And understand that Mother God and Father God, together, the divine presence of God expresses itself in all of life. And as we look to our divine parents, they fill our lives with love and blessings. Let's just imagine ourselves walking through life today with open eyes, that we might see the presence of God wherever we are, wherever we go, to the people that we meet. And let us just look to see that God exists everywhere. And as we learn to see the face of God in the wind, in the sun, in the trees, in the people we meet, in the experience of the day, we will understand the workings of our divine parents and understand that they are always working for our highest good, that we grow as children to be closer and closer to them each and every day. So let us continue on the path, just keeping our eyes open, looking for the divine all around us. Let the subconscious mind continue on that journey, and let's bring the conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Go ahead and take another deep breath. Exhale and open your eyes. That's it, my friends. That's the show for today. Thank you very much for being here. I will be back tomorrow. We will continue on and be ready, because we're moving in not a new direction, but we're taking a new perspective on things that we've been looking at. So be ready for the adjustments, the changes, and to move to the next level. That's it. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Love you. Keep loving each other. Peace. I'm out of here.